My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless podcast. Thank you so much for rocking with the podcast. I'm super excited to have you as part of the fam. If you're an OG member, you've been here from the get-go. I truly appreciate you. If you are a newbie, oh my goodness, welcome to this family. I'm pretty sure it's going to change your life. Audio episodes like this go out every single Monday, and you can stream us on every platform you find podcasts on. On top of that, you can also head over to our YouTube channel. We have a new episode out of our new series, and you will get to watch a wonderful woman called Rosalind talk about divorce, dowry return ceremonies, being a widow, and dating as an older African woman. Let me tell you, every woman needs to watch that episode. Her insights on love will have you navigating these streets very differently. Another thing you can do is join our warm, fuzzy corner of the internet. We are on Instagram and TikTok at Legally Clueless Africa, and you can join and register for our newsletter, aka join the community, on our website, which is legallycluelessafrica.com. Okay, I am so exhausted. Yeah, just mentally, emotionally, like my soul is tired. And I think it's literally linked to work, because I'm pretty sure if I go to last year and listen to the episode from around this time, I'm pretty sure I was saying something similar. So either I'm not scheduling enough rest time, I'm not scheduling right because my body is completely exhausted. And listen, even how I'm pronouncing words, exhausted. This past week, I actually had a complete breakdown. Whee! Just a complete breakdown. I'm climbing out of it. I'm doing well in climbing out of it, but I'm also trying to go slow. You know, I'm pretty sure there's many of us who are feeling this, like an exhaustion, mentally maybe because of work, emotionally maybe because of the things we're navigating just as humans, and this human experience comes with its own madness. And then physically, my body is also just like, bruh, we're tired. Oh my God, after my breakdown, we went to hospital. One of the things that completely freaked me out was, you know, when they take your heart rate and your blood pressure, etc. I never have any issues at that point. In fact, the only issue I've ever had at that point is like, hey, you need to add weight because of your height, etc. But this time, like, my heart rate was so high. And the nurse kept saying, just relax. And I'm like, that wouldn't help. I'm trying. Not in this moment. Yeah, so if you can relate, you're going through a similar funk, you're trying to navigate it, I'm just sending you so much love. You know, I'm just sending you so much love. So I'm going to try and reserve my energy in this episode. Just like spread it out. And so we're just going to jump straight into 100 African stories. Like, it's like we're playing Monopoly. You know, when you just go. And so we're going into part 2 of Jordan Muzi's story. If you have not listened to part 1, please do. It's so beautiful. It's in the previous episode 235. Please listen to it. He takes us through his parents moving from Zimbabwe to Botswana in search of a better life. It didn't go well, and they ended up not having enough money to take him to school. And then he had to go and live with a relative in Zimbabwe and then come back to Botswana, still not being able to go to school. And then music became his solace, and he's so good at it. I hope you listened to the Song of the Week last week. It's just, his music is so good. I can't stop listening to a couple of his songs. But anyway, in part 2, he really dives deep into this music thing. And the reason I found it very important to separate the two is like, if you have a passion or a talent that you really want to pursue, this part 2 is really for you to truly understand what it's going to take for you to see that passion to its fruition and to its success. And what it's going to take is so much more than talent. I think that was my takeaway from part 2. But anyway, we'll meet back here after you listen to it. So here you go. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
So at this time, like, a lot of cool stuff starts happening. Like, because I'm being consistent, you know what I mean? And like, I'm like, sometimes you're being consistent, but like you're not exactly doing the right thing. But because you've got the right energy, the talent is there. So like, you kind of catch the attention of people that can sort of guide you on the right path, or like people that have a connection to another connection that will put you on the right path. So I think at this point, because me and my friends, because I think one of the friends that I mentioned, Dado Seiko, like, we didn't necessarily plan like how we met or linked up. We were jamming by the University of Botswana. There was one of the tables there. So I remember me and my friends, there was one guy, his name was Dozy. He's a very good friend of mine. And he was trying to run a record label. He worked with one guy called BK Proctor. BK Proctor had a studio. And I remember while Asher was still here, while we were still Reckless Motion, somebody suggested that we go link up with them and like see what they could do for us, because like they felt they were doing well, like music wise. So like we gave it a try, and we set up a meeting. We go there, and that song that I told you about, the one I still have, Dreaming, we played for them. They're just like there's something here, like it's not the best, but like there's definitely something that we can figure out. But this is not BK Proctor saying that, this is Dozy. So like for some time we started working with Dozy, and this was before the time that Asha and Tandy left. Yeah, during this time, like, we do a performance or two. We try to lock in some music, but like we never actually really came to putting out music, because I guess during the situation we just saw that this is not really working out the way we want to work in terms of like creative direction, and like also how we want the music to sound. Our sound, I think we just generally didn't understand how to bring it to life record wise. We knew how to like play the music live, but like in terms of like what we wanted record wise, that was still something that we had to figure out. With limited studio time, limited knowledge on how to like produce certain sounds or make a song pop a certain type of way, you just find yourself going in circles. So I guess also that fell out because like the things with Dozy weren't exactly working out as well. Yeah, he's somebody who really he likes to be prepared, organized, but like I guess music in Botswana is not something that people invest in. So yeah, things just weren't going well. So like that also fell through. But like during the time while I knew Dozy, BK Proctor was working on, like, he owns a brand called Collections by BK Proctor. So he was putting out a project that was meant to push the merchandise that he was working on. He asked Dozy for a vocalist who could sing on one of the songs. Dozy suggested me, and I remember he sent me the song. He gave me the song on was it a Thursday? I think it was a Thursday, and we were recording on a Friday. He gave me a song on the Thursday and said, "Yeah, can you write something to this? This is what we're gonna be working on." I had to write that night. I had to write a whole song. So like, yeah, I wrote this song. The song is called In Love, and it's still on that project. So I wrote that song and we recorded that song. Once I recorded that song, it was nice to be in like a decent studio environment, because like most of what I was exposed to was like makeshift situations. And like I think I also had the freedom to sort of express myself musically and be like a bit more experimental, because like sometimes like when you don't know stuff, you kind of bounce off of what producers suggest to you because like you think they know better. But like my sound is something I was still figuring it out, and it's not very popular here. So we put that song out, and the song, I wouldn't say in terms of like numbers, like on your Spotify's and Apple, that it did well like crazy, but in terms of the demographic here, because like Botswana is a small industry, in terms of the demographic here, it got me into spaces with people that just acknowledged how talented I am, and like people with influence, and like it just sort of makes people look in your direction. Now it's just like, oh, who's that kid? Like, who was on this song, because I remember we also performed at BK Proctor's launch for Collections by BK Proctor. I performed there, and now you're in spaces with people like that, recognize that you're talented, that's that thing I was telling you of connection, one thing leads to another type situation. When that happens, it's a thing of now, because you're exciting, now people get excited because they see you're doing this, that, and the fourth. Now a lot of people hit you up and like want to get you on a record, can we do this song? Can we do that song? And like for me, somebody who doesn't really know anything, I'm trying to work, because in my mind it's just like I'm trying to get as much experience as I possibly can. I can't be choosy now. I have to figure things out. So like I work with a couple of guys. There's a DJ called Doomy Black Ace that I did a song with. I think that was the second record that I recorded. And I think around this time there's a really dope spot. It's called Botswana Craft here, and they do like live performances, and they also have like a restaurant. So one of my best friends, his name is Kaya Groth. His father owns the place. Around this time, I was putting like a lot of music on my Facebook, like acoustic videos. He saw one of them, which is weird because like before people sort of like started validating that, I was talented and dope. I lived in my head a lot, and I was just like, I used to think, am I really good to like, so like I was very nervous to like put stuff out, and I think like the first time I put like a proper video of me playing something was one December because like, remember that church split I told you about? When that happened, I felt like it wasn't mandatory anymore for me to, because like the church conventions I mentioned earlier, it was mandatory for us to go. So like one December, I just decided, no, I don't want to do that, because my parents were very dedicated to church. I think for me it was now a situation of, you're so dedicated to this church, and like now you see they're splitting up. This is what's happening. I can't subscribe to this anymore, because like even like what you're suggesting is not working. So like one December, I was very confused, because like imagine you spend your Christmases in church. So now it's just like, what do people do for Christmas? You ask yourself, like, what am I meant to do? So I remember that first Christmas I was alone and I was by my house, and I posted a video doing Mahalia's Soba. And like I got a good response from it. So like when I started doing that, that's when I started posting more videos online. I remember that's when Kaya saw one of my videos, and Kaya just suggested that, we work, because he's a drummer, a very good drummer. He was in the UK at the time for school. He just said, yeah, when I come to town, we shall communicate, and we'll see what pops off. We'll see what makes sense, what happens. So when he comes, I'm still volunteering at House of Young. When he comes, like we have a meeting there, and yeah, he's just like, yeah, I want us to jam together. I've got a space here. We can see how we make it pop off, because the place does live performances. They've got their own equipment. Like it's the best spot to perform at here in Gabs. So I'm just like, yeah, for sure, let's rock. Around the time I met Barry Bone, who was a sound engineer there at the time. I remember the first time we just played by the courtyard. We got together. I think this was a great experience for me, like live performance wise, because they specialize in live performance. This was sort of like an informal way of me learning how to perform. I've been doing these open mics for sure, but like now I'm learning how to like have a presence and be that guy, when you're on the stage, because like Kaya coached me a lot. He would just tell me, yeah, you can't just be still on the stage and just, look like you're sad and you're moping. You need to have some energy. You have to have some life, certain ways. I used to be very soft when I sang in places, because like I just wasn't sure whether it was vibes or not, if people were connecting. But like, yeah, he would just be like, yeah, so when you sing, you need to sing. People need to feel that you're confident. Like you need to own the stage, because like if people are going to pay to come watch you perform, they can't feel like, what's going on? This guy's not even sure about what he's doing. So we performed at the courtyard. The courtyard is great. This is around the time that, my name is buzzing, because like I've got my hands in so many pots. My name is buzzing in the city. It's an exciting time. People are just like, yeah, who's this kid, who's doing this, that, and the fourth. And I remember that's So me and Kaya are jamming a lot, and like I remember he suggested we do a show at some point. This was one of my first solo shows at Botswana Craft. So in my mind, I'm just like, sure, because like we've been jamming. Like at this time, I'm completely clueless as to how things are gonna go, but like like I'm feeling the confidence of everybody around me. Like I'm just vibing off of that because like I'm a big believer. I like breaking boundaries and like going against the limitations that people set or like the limitations that people impose. So now we're rehearsing every day for 3 months. I think that was one of the times where I just, because like I'm somebody who learns from executing. Like that's how I learn. I learn from being practical with things. I think it's also because I was in and out of school because my parents were struggling with fees, and that I never really got into the reading bit of things. Like I read like a lot of books that have nothing to do like with school. I can do that, but like just acquiring knowledge from reading was difficult for me because like in and out of school there's never consistency. So like I just adapted to learning from being practical with things and doing things on the spot. So like when we're rehearsing for this 3 months, I'm learning a lot of things, from doing it every day. Like just that consistency, I'm learning a lot of stuff. There's a lot of worries I didn't have at the time, of which I'm glad I didn't have, that I'm very aware of now. Because come to think of it, I was an artist who had no music out. I had never put out a project of my own. All I have is videos that I've put on social media, these open mics that I've been hosting with my friends, and a few live performances here. But like that wasn't on my mind at the time. I think at the time, the only thing on my mind was this belief that I started having in my capabilities, because if a prominent place like Botswana Craft can bet their money on me and say, yeah, let's do this show, for me it's just like, oh, crazy. Like if these people believe in me, like why shouldn't I believe in myself? So now the thing that's carrying me is my belief in myself. And not just that, it's just my ability to want to grow above and beyond, to give a performance that have jaws dropping and something that people can like listen to and be like, oh, crazy, that's dope. I remember closer to the show, like in Botswana, it's crazy because like people are very last minute. They're last minute people. Like they like to buy especially like tickets, like close to the last day. So like building up to the show, there's no sales. There's sales, but like it's not that crazy yet. Ideally we wanted to use the big stage. That's what we were targeting for. So I remember there was a conversation between me and Kaya where he was just assuring me, it's just like, listen, this is our first show, we're building something here. So like if the turnout isn't as dope as we want, we can make it cute, we can put pillows on the floor, we can just make it like an intimate session type situation. So at this time I'm gutted because like, I'm feeling the vibes, I'm feeling the energy, like I'm like, let's go, let's set it off. But like I also understood that realistically, if that was the case, we have to make something work, make sense. On the day of the show, you're not really trying to be very stressed. You're just trying to focus on doing your job. And like this is the first time I performed. At this time, I'm still nervous. You know what I mean? Like talking to people is like a big thing for me. So like I think I told myself from the beginning of the show that I'm just gonna do what I do best, which is I know how to sing and make a song sound dope. Don't know how to communicate with the crowd, something that I'm still struggling with. Well, not struggling with now, but like this is my thought process at the time. So it's something that I'm still struggling with, like just communicating to the crowd. But like one thing I know is when I open my mouth, like I know how to make everything sound dope. We've also rehearsed, like at least, like if anything, we sound great. So like at least people can have that. So like I was just shocked to see how many people showed up, because I think we had like 400 people for that first show. So like when I got on stage is when it was like literally crazy just to see how many people just rocked up for that show. That was crazy for me, and I think it also just like sparked a lot of belief in what it is that I do, and in my capabilities. We did another one the second year, because like we thought of making it like an annual thing, and like the next one we had some more people. I think the thing that was crazy is that most artists here, like even the prominent ones, like they struggle to to bring a buying audience of that size. When you look at it, you then just start to notice that you're different, but like not just different, but you start to try to figure out why it is exactly that you're different. And like once you start to think about it, you just try to look at how it is exactly that you did things. So now where I am musically is I put up my first project, the project that is Air. So Air is definitely out. And that was in October last year. On the 28th of October, I put the project out, and it's called the Grace EP. It's called the Grace EP because, like, grace is God's unmerited favor, but I think it's also it's also grace that I've given myself, because there's a lot of things that held me back in, like, during, like, I think the COVID year especially, like, it just slowed a lot of things down. That's the time when I wrote that project, like, because the way I've structured the songs in that project is it's sort of like a story of, I lost my spark at some point. That song is really just it's a story of regaining your spark, and it's called The Grace because I gave myself grace. I could have been in myself about falling off, because like with everything that's happened in my life, I know how much I've sacrificed for music, which is my one true love. Like, I just didn't feel very good about myself. So like that project was just me giving myself grace, and it was also my first project, first studio project that I put out. I remember this is me, somebody who doesn't really have direction in terms of like how to do things the right way at the time. But like one thing that I've always known for sure is that I'm a hard worker. I'll do whatever it is I have to do, and I won't complain about it, because like that's one of life's lessons I got from living my life, where it's just like life wasn't fair for me. And in situations where they weren't the most favorable towards me, like I could sit and fold my arms, but that doesn't change the situation, but I had to do something. So I made a bomb-ass project, and I worked with one of the dopest producers in the country. His name is Flex the Ninja. Like, also the sacrifices that we had to make to put that project out, because like we recorded this during COVID. We didn't exactly have all the equipment we needed, so like we outsourced from one of my friends. His name is Colin, and like he lives quite a distance out of town, and like he helped us out. So we would wake up every day, meet at the bus rank, and like we'd buy some food and say, yeah, we're going to Colin. He lives in Pakalani. There's a place called Pakalani. It's a nice suburb. So like we head out there, and we'd record the whole day, because we're just like, oh, also we don't have like a crazy budget. So like if we're going out, we have to go out and really make the most of it. I think that the reason why we went to record with him is because we wanted the perfect sound, and he has an eyeball. I think it's called an eyeball. It's this thing that you put on the mic so that if you're not in a space that is really soundproofed, you can still get like some clear, crisp sound. So like we'd go there every day, we'd record, but also there was curfew at the time, so we're just like, yeah, we need to make sure we work so that we can leave on time, and avoid this curfew situation. So like now, because it's late and like taxis don't move that late here, now we have to take a cab to head home. That was our lives for most of COVID. We're recording, making this project, making it make sense. There's really no budget, but like I think one of the reasons I really love my producer Flex the Ninja is because he was also willing to sacrifice, because like he saw the desire and he saw the potential in the project. It was our baby. I'd spend money on it, he'd spend money on it, and we're just like, yeah, we're gonna see this thing come to life, and like we're really going to push it. Like it's gonna make sense, because like we know we're not whack. Like something's gotta give. Now we're working on this project, and we're like really just making sure like everything sounds right, everything comes together. We worked on it for like a good 2 years, and like there's a lot of things that didn't make it. There's a lot of things that did make it. There was a lot of us trying out new different things, because like we wanted to express it in the best way possible and give the audience that. Like I don't believe in doing things like half baked. Like you have to like you have to cook it all the way. Like, because like once you put it out, it's there for life. Unless you take it down, of course, but like you don't want to be that guy. So like what you put out, you need to be sure. Like you need to be sure that this is it, and like it is the best expression of this that I can put out there. That's me and my work, because like my work is something very dear to my heart, and like I don't like compromising. I want it to be top tier. It's something I want to listen to in the future and be like, yeah, but we really went in. So when we put that out, for me it was a situation of like here in my country, Botswana, like artists don't really put in a lot of effort into their projects. Like not all of them, but like majority. It's just a situation where they'll put it out, and then if it doesn't work out the way they wanted it to work out, it's a situation of, yeah, we'll just do it on the next project, But like people don't really push and say, yeah, this is my project and I'm going to go the distance and I'm going to like really shove it in people's faces and like knock on the doors that I need to knock on to just make sure the right people hear this. I think people still think that it's a matter of just being talented, super dope, and then eventually doors will just open. But like it's a relentlessness that you need to have to know how to be consistent even when you don't feel up to it, because like of course like when you put something out and like you don't think people are vibing, you can lose morale, especially because like artists here don't have financial backing. So like it's really financing things from your own pocket and like figuring it out. But like it's something I told myself it wouldn't stop me from getting where I want to go. Once I put that out, I kept I did like a couple of promo videos, like some dope promo videos that I did with a friend of mine, Lamont, and we put them together just to push the project. We even did like a launch for the project. Like I told myself I'm gonna post this link every day. Like I don't know who's watching, I don't know what can happen, anything can happen. I told myself I'm going to share something on the project every single day, like without fail. I remember that's how I actually met Phil from Point Black, because he did a podcast with me and he was just like, yeah, one of his friends, I think his name is Mayuka Yuka. Forgive me if I said it wrong. I think that's his name. But I went on Phil's podcast, Two Broke Timbos, and like he was just really asking me what I do and like what my situation is, because he was listening to my music and like, you're super dope, but like what's wrong? Like, because like it's not popping off the way it should be popping off, but like I can hear the music's dope. And I also kind of explained to him that, like in terms of like a music industry, we don't really have a music industry here. Like we don't have that professional setup or like institution, like with the guidelines and like the right push and backing power to like push artists in a professional capacity. It's still an industry that is yet to grow. So like for me personally, it was a thing where I had to figure this stuff out by myself. When you're not popping, nobody cares. So like you start just figuring out things by yourself, and like if you can't just sit and do nothing. So like I cooked up a project and I said I'd put it out and see what happens. But like I gave it like the best opportunity it could have by giving it the right time and investing the right energy. I told myself I'd see what happened, and if something doesn't happen, like I just keep trying different ways from the lessons I'll learn from life, see how to make it pop off. And that's just the general conversation I had with Phil. Phil then told me that that he would try to help out. Phil and Dan, actually, they just said they'll see how to help out because they were vibing with the music. But like also, as somebody who's been in the industry, like in the back of my mind, I was thinking, like you hear this all the time. It's just that situation of, hey, if it pops off, pops off. If it doesn't, we just keep going until we figure something out. Then I think Phil started following me. I started following Phil as well. I was pushing, there's a song called Chasing Dollar that I was putting out beginning of this year. And Chasing Dollar is a song that for me was a reminder of where my head is at, in terms of my life and my career. There was a bigger project I was planning on putting out, which was going to be called Eden's Paradise. And Eden's Paradise was really just going to talk about the life of being a foreigner in a country that's not yours, but is yours at the same time. Like, because I was born here, so this is home, Zim is home. But like, when I'm in both I'm almost made to feel like I'm not home because, people will be like, yeah, but like your parents are Zimbabwean, or like people in Zimbabwe will be like, yeah, you've lived in Botswana your whole life, even your Shona is the language there. Your Shona sounds funny, and like Eden's Paradise was just great to talk about how, when my parents left Zim, they came to Bots looking for like a better life, but they came here, like, as much as they found what they were looking for like a certain period of time, because it's not like things were bad all the time. At some point things were decent. It's just like, just failing to prepare for the future that brought them to where they are. But as much as that was the case for you, what did, like, with good comes bad, which them coming here also just gave me a dilemma of what home is, you know what I mean? And like something that I'm still yet to figure out. Eden's Paradise is supposed to be a story of finding peace within yourself and not making home a destination or like a place, like a physical place that you can touch, but just finding home within yourself and finding that comfortability in your own skin, in your own individuality. And I remember, I think Phil was seeing me promote that song. There was a time when I told Phil, I was just like, Phil, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And like, I need guidance. So like, if you were up for being my manager, I wouldn't dispute it. This is something that I'm throwing at you and asking if you could manage me, And then, yeah, I remember at the time he was just like, you're super dope, but like, I wouldn't know if I can give you the time that you deserve. It would be unfair if I take you on knowing that I can't give you that. But I completely understood, and I was like, yeah, that's for sure. But like, it's one of those things where it's just like, hey, if it's not the door, then I just keep pushing my guy. So I kept pushing and promoting, and I remember there was a time when he was just like, yo, we should have a call because I do want to manage you. And we eventually put out Chasing Dollar together. So my mantra is that love is the gas all the way to the top. Because I was scrolling on my YouTube sometime too, like sometimes when I'm low and I don't feel particularly my best, I sort of try to get reminded by like people who support and vibe to my music. So like I just go check out their comments, and there's a guy on one of my old videos, and he was just talking about how I'm really destined for greatness, and at this point in time my mindset should be I am going all the way to the top. So with that's genuine love, and like something that reminds me of that is, that I always say love is the gas, love is the fuel that keeps us going, all the way to the top. That's how we get there. So that's how it becomes love is the gas all the way to the top.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. I really loved getting to know Jordan. I hope you have, across the last 2 weeks. And isn't it interesting hearing how things happen in other African countries? And then you're just like, hey, even us, especially when you're talking about like his first live show. And he's like, people here in Botswana, they buy tickets late. I'm like, must be an African thing, because Kenyans, we do the same thing. We do. We do the same thing. And even when he's talking about being a musician and just kind of the hurdles he has to go through, you can draw parallels with the lack of infrastructure or structure in general, even here in Kenya. And so it's so interesting. And also what's really awesome is like hearing him name certain places, and you're just like, I have no idea where that is. But like now I know a place in Gaberone. I'm not even sure if it's Gaberone or Gaberone, and I lived there, but I can't remember. Let's just call it Gabs. So when he mentions like a neighborhood or like a restaurant or creative arts center, you're like, now I know a place. If I ever come back, I can land and stunt that I know things. So I really love that about listening to other African stories. And as I said earlier, my takeaway is like, you have this passion, you have this talent, but there has to be a level of being relentless in the pursuit of its success. You just have to keep going. And we're going to come back to the spirit of keep going in a bit. But if you are in Kenya and you want to listen to us on Trace FM, you can do so. Just go to traceradio.co.ke. We're there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. And make sure you join our community. Head over to legallycluelessafrica.com. Now, in the spirits of keep going, which is kind of like what I need right now with this funk I'm crawling myself out of. Yeah, this is the inspirational clip I'm going to leave you with. And if you're also kind of like battling fatigue and exhaustion, let's try and just be graceful with ourselves. We're going to try, okay? And let's try and rest. Just take it one step at a time. As we're being relentless, as we keep going, let's like pace ourselves and honor our bodies as we do it. Yeah. Sending you hugs.
Speak light into your life. Keep going. Speak it as though it already is, because it's happening. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Stay in your lane. Keep going. You got this. I promise. Keep going. Everything that is meant for you is already yours. Keep going. Keep going. Comparison for what? Compare yourself to who? Not even who you've been. You are brand new. You are completely renewed. Get to know this version of yourself. Stand in it 10 toes down. Keep going. Keep growing. You got this.
That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.